Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Let's make a start. So we're going up to verse 13, from 10 to 13, and then from next time we will discuss about Vyasadeva. So this was Shaunak Rishi's question to Sutta Goswami, 1 to 13. Then from 14 we'll talk about Vyasadeva. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giravardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giravardhari Yashodanandana Vraj Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraj Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanchari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Om Gyan Timirasya Gyan Anjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sam Rupa Akadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Krishna Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vichakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vindavanveshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranmami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpata Brihascha Kirpa Sindhuvevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Parcharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srinivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hukum Groti Vachalam Pangum Lagyate Grim Yat Kirpatam Mandashi Gurundin Taranam Pramananda Madhvam Shittaneshram Hariyam Tassat Narayan Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Sasvyatam Tato Jamaduriyat Nashta Presha Abdureshu Nityam Bhagavad-Sevayā Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtaki Hare Krishna. So, let's go on to verse 10. So we have a Zoom user. Could they put their name, please, so we know who is there? So verse 10, Samrat kasya vaheto pandunam manvardanaha prayo pavisto gangayam andratya dhirat shuryam. So Saha he Samrat, the emperor, Kasya, for what? Va-o, heto, reason. Pandu, name of the sons of Pandu. Man, Vardhanha, one who enriches the family. Praya, Upavishta, sitting and fasting. Gangayam, on the bank of the Ganges. Anadritya, neglecting. Adhirat, acquired kingdom. Shriyam, opulences. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? So, yeah, Maharaj Parikshit, he had everything. He had a wonderful family. He had his properties. He had his other wealth. His army, his elephants, horses. So much he had, and he just gave up everything at a drop of a hat and sat down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death. He did not think, oh, why has this happened to me, and what will happen to this, what will happen to that, what about all my properties and my kingdom. No, that's it. It's time to go. It's just a, when we look around us, it's just a game, isn't it? It's just a matter of few decades. Here we are, raving and ranting, and it's just a matter of, it's a game of few decades, and it's all over. And when we've seen it, people come and go. It's just when you look at it, they think it's just a game for a few decades, and then either you can go back home or you can start again and again and again. Just illusion. So Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world, and all the seas and oceans. He didn't have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. He inherited from his grandfathers, Maharaj Yudhishthira and brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in the administration and was worthy of the good names of his forefathers. Consequently, there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. So he had everything going for him. Then why should he give up all these favorable circumstances and sit down on the bank of the Ganges, fasting till death? This is astonishing, and therefore all were eager to know the cause. Because some people were saying that he should have carried on until death. He should have just carried on what he was doing, die with your boots on, just do his duty, and then when the time comes, when it comes, because nobody knows when the time comes anyway. So that was some people's argument, but he decided that he will straight away sit on the bank of Ganges and fast, no water, no food, fast till death. So Srila Prabhupada explains, so Maharaj Parikshit's environment was perfect from all angles. He had everything going for him. Yet there was a turn in his life. What caused it? So it doesn't matter how great your life is, there is always a possibility of reversal. So, it can happen. Doesn't matter. And we usually find that what goes up must come down. If you have a great life, then there's only one way it can go, is down. When we read in the news papers all the time, great people, they will get some kind of bad reputation, fingers pointing at them, or they get involved in an accident or something, or they pass away. There's one big star passed away on the 1st of April, like that. They're very famous, and suddenly something is going to change. Sooner or later, life's all about change. It will change. So there's always a possibility of reversals. Like on the heart monitor, the heart which is shown as a wave up and down. And it's further explained that a straight line means you are dead. So on the heart monitor, it's going up and down. And if you're going zzz, single tone like that, that means it's over. So life is all about ups and downs. A straight line means you are dead, or in terms of living, you are liberated. If you want your life at an angle in an upward direction, then need to become Krishna conscious. So if you don't want it going up and down, which in the material world it does, but you don't feel it as much. You're involved in the bliss and you see everything as Krishna's mercy. So life up and down means you get disturbed, but then when you don't get disturbed, then it doesn't matter what's happening in the background. You're not disturbed. You take the appropriate action. You don't get disturbed by it. And in the next shloka, Namanti yat pad nikatam atmana, Namanti yat pad nikatam atmana, Shivya haniya danani shatrabha, Katham savirha shriyam ang dustiyajam, Yuvai shatot shrastum aho sahasvahi. Namanti, bow down, yat pad, whose feet, niketam, under, atmanha, on, shivaya, welfare, haniya, used to bring about, danani, wealth, shatrava, enemies, katham, for what reason, saha, he, vira, the chivalrous, shriyam, opulences, anga, o Sutta Goswami, dustijam, insuperable, yuva, in full youth, aishata, desired, utsrashuttam, to give up, aho, exclamation, saha, with asubhihi, life. So he was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. So he was a great emperor and all his enemies would come and bow down. When the enemies bow down to you, that means they are afraid of you. So the great kings have this potency of, that what you would call fear. They have the power, just like a lion. Everyone feels a lion. And the great kings, people would fear them. Their enemies would fear them. And they would bow down to them. They have this potency of putting fear in other people. He was full of youth and strength. And he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. So why did he want to give everything, including his life? So were difficult to give up, as I've said, that death takes away everything. We don't want to give it up, maybe till the last second. But when the time comes, time and death, it takes away everything. We don't want to give it up. It just takes it away from us. And this is why at the time of death, some people are thinking about the wealth, and not necessarily just in monetary terms, but in terms of family as well. That is also your wealth. You're thinking about that. But to give it up before your time, that takes some effort. There was nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite a young man and could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from active life. There was no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful and chivalrous that even his enemies would come to him and bow down at his feet and surrender all wealth for their own benefit. Maharaj Bhikshi was a pious king. He conquered his enemies, and therefore the kingdom was full of prosperity. There was enough milk, grains, and metals, and all the rivers and mountains were full of potency. So materially everything was satisfactory. Therefore there was no question of untimely giving up his kingdom and life. The sages were eager to hear about all this. So Srila Prabhupada explained that in the Kali Yuga we don't have any Mahabhagavata Kshatriyas. So there is no proper government. Government duty is to make everyone happy, plenty of food, no diseases, In Kali Yuga, Shudras are running the country. It's like feet running the head. So, head means saintly kings, that they have the chivalry of a Kshatriya, but the head of a king, they can think, head of a Brahman, so they can think in a pious way. So he says Maharaj Parikshit was a pious king. But Srila Prabhupada mentions that politically, the countries are now run by the Shudras, and that they are like the feet. So the head is the Brahman, and the chest is the Kshatriya, or the arms, and then the belly is the the business people, Vaishya, and then Shudras are the feet. And this saying the feet are not running have replaced the head. It's like feet running the head. So 12. Shivaya lokasya bhaval bhute ya atma shloka prayanyana jivanti nat maratham syo parashrayam mumucha nirvidya kutha kalevram. So Shivaya, welfare, lokasya, of all beings, bhavaya, for flourishing, bhutaye, for economic development, ye, one who is uttam shloke prayanaha, devotee to the cause of the personal Godhead. Jana, men, jivanti, do live, na, but not artham, selfish interest, so that parashrayam, shelter for others, mumocha, gave up, nirvidya, being freed from all attachment, kutha, for what reason, kalevram, mortal body. So those who are devoted to the cause of the personality Godhead live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. They don't live for any selfish interests. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was a shelter for others? So it seemed he could have done something about it. How could he give up his mortal body? Anyway, let's see what they say. So Maharaj Parikshit was an ideal king and householder because he was a devotee of the personality of Godhead. A devotee of the Lord automatically has all good qualifications, and the emperor was a typical example of this. Personally, he had no attachment for all the worldly opulences in his possession. But since he was king for the all-around welfare of his citizens, he was always busy in the welfare work of the public, not only for this life but also for the next. He would not allow slaughterhouses or killing of cows. He was not a foolish and partial administrator who would arrange for the protection of one living being and allow another to be killed, because he was a devotee of the Lord. He knew perfectly well how to conduct his administration for everyone's happiness, men, animals, plants, because they are all his citizens and all living creatures. He was selfishly interested. He was not selfishly interested. Selfishness is either self-centered or self-extended. He was neither. His interest was to please the Supreme Truth, the personality of Godhead. The king is the representative of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the king's interest must be identical with that of the Supreme Lord. So just like the king is interest must be identical with the Supreme Lord, just like a spiritual master whose interest is also identical with the Supreme Lord. So in a way, for the citizen, the king is the spiritual master as well. The Supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide all subjects back to the kingdom of God, just like a spiritual master. Hence, the activities of citizens should be so coordinated that they can at the end go back home, back to Godhead. Under the administration of representative king, the kingdom is full of opulence. At that time, human beings need not eat animals. There are ample food grains, milk, fruit, and vegetables, so that human beings as well as animals can eat sumptuously and to their heart's content. If all living beings are satisfied with food and shelter and obey the prescribed rules, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. Emperor Parikshit was a worthy king, and therefore all were happy during his reign. Because the king was good, then the subjects were good, because the right systems were in place, and the right messages were going out, and people, because they had a lot of love, they either had love for him, or they had respect for him, or they had fear from him. So one or the other would keep them in line, right? So love, respect, and fear. The enemies feared him. So everybody followed the rules, regulations, and even Kali was afraid of Maharaj Parikshit, and he could not stamp his presence while Maharaj Parikshit was there. And Maharaj Parikshit, he wanted everybody to be in the mode of goodness. He wanted everyone to obey the principles of religion, i.e., no gambling, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit relationships. So Maharaj Parikshit is very, insistent in that this is the rule, and these things will not be allowed while I am in charge. So that's 12. So okay, I think we've discussed thing on here. And finally, tat sarvam naha samachakshva presto yad iha kinchana manye tvam vishye vacham sanatam anyatra chandasat. So that sarvam, all, naha, unto us, samachakshva, clearly explain, pristha, question, yat iha, herein, kinchana, all that, manye, we think, tvam, you, vishe, in all subjects, vacham, meaning of the words, sanatam, fully acquainted, anyatra, accept, accept. I don't know if that's the right spelling for accept, but anyway. Chandasat, portion of the Vedas. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects, except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answer to all the questions we have just put to you. So just again, one, we know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. So the sages are saying to Sutta Goswami, because they've been asking all these questions and he's been answering, and now the purport says difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and the Parivrajaks. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, but the Parivrajakaryas, or learned preachers, are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. So that's the difference between Brahmins and Parivrajakaryas. One does the rituals, so the fruitive sacrifices, the other are learned preachers. As such, the Parivrajakaryas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, so that's the job of the Brahmanas, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas, who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. So they both have their own roles, so it doesn't mean the Brahmanas are more important. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. So they're trying to get to the same goal, but by different methods. There is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihasas. according to Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in the Madhya Dina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely the Sam, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, the Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads, etc., are emanations from breathing of the Supreme Being. The only difference is that the Vedic mantras are mostly begun with Pranam Omkara, Om, and it requires some training to practice the metric pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. But that does not mean the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is actually the ripened fruit of all the Vedas. As stated before, besides that, the most perfectly liberated soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of Bhagavatam, although he is already self-realized. Srila Sutta Goswami is following his footsteps, and therefore his position is not the least less important, because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Interesting. So, whether it's Sutta Goswami or Shukadeva Goswami, especially Sutta Goswami, when he came, there was yajnas going on. So he was not asked to take over the yajna and do the pronunciations, because they think that he's more expert, he'll do a better job. Or Shukadeva Goswami was not asked to do a yajna on behalf of Maharaj Parikshit, so may he get salvation, liberation. No, none of that was going on. That was maybe in the previous yugas, but Kali Yuga was coming, and even though he hadn't quite reached Kali Yuga yet, but they realized that Bhagavatam was most supreme method, right? So now we don't even have Brahmins that can accurately have the right accent or the meter, as is mentioned here, to pronounce the mantras properly. So in that case, plan B, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is there. Now Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has taken over for our yuga, because that's that is the way we can move forward, advance, and not through the mantras. That this is not now the time for mantras. It's time for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which has the same goal, and it's much easier for us to do that. So anyway, just it's mentioned the Vedic mantras require mantras are pronounced properly. The Bhagavatam is about realizing rather than pronunciation. So let's say realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. So Bhagavatam is about, so we are reaching our goal through realizing. Feelings are more important. This is why chanting is recommended in the Kali Yuga. And now we talk about feelings, not pronunciation. Feelings are more important, and chanting should be done like that. So this is why we expect it, when we're chanting, it should be done like a child crying for his mother. If a child cries in a way, in a serious way, the mother definitely comes running that my child needs my help. And why is he crying like that? There's a crying and there's a crying. Crying just like casual crying, mother says, oh, he'll stop in a minute. But when his child is seriously crying, then she would come running that, oh, I think he's in pain, or he's got a problem, or what's happened. He needs help. So the mother comes running. So it's like that. There must be emotion. When there's emotion in the crying, when there's emotion in the chanting, and I don't have that in my chanting, and but that's what we're aiming for, to have some emotion, that we're serious, so that we are serious in our chanting. So whether you're a male or a female, a chanting should be done with emotion, to Hare and Krishna. We're calling them, please get us out of this miserable material life, because we're stuck here birth after birth, and enough is enough. We've been here for so many births, and we probably had every kind of birth. Now it's time, us aliens, to leave this material world and go back to our home, because we are spiritual, and that's our realization, that we are spiritual. We are not material. Then why are we living in the material world? If we are spiritual, then we should be in the spiritual world, not in the material world. So we are away from home right now, but because we have put into illusion, we don't understand that. We think, oh, we are in the material world, so we must be material. This body, we are taking the five elements for this body, and this body is growing to the five elements, so we must be material, because everything is here, and everything for our use is here. But we forget that the soul is, we are actually the soul, not the material body that has been growing, and then it will eventually dwindle as well. So thank you so much. Now I'd like to hear from yourselves, and we'll start with Puntikaksh Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Anil Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. Yeah, there are so many points in these verses, Prabhuji. In the beginning, sages were asking why Parishit Maharaj, who has got so many facilities, he's young and not at all at the age of leaving the kingdom. So they're asking a question like why such kind of king is actually waiting for his death, sitting near the bank. So as we already heard the story, so maybe we not find more exciting, but they were hearing the story for the first time, so they got excited to know why Parishit Maharaj, at this young age, he's not bothered about the kingdom, and he's actually trying to leave the body and sitting near the banks of the river. And Prabhupada mentioned that one should give us a favorable circumstances. So when we hear about Dhruva Maharaj pastime, and Dhruva Maharaj actually, in the beginning, when he went for that performing those penances, in the beginning he used to eat only once in 3 days, then once in 6 days, then breathe, and once in something in like drinking water only in 9 days, and then taking the breath on first day and leaving the breath out on 12th day. So Dhruva Maharaj, even though he is not accepted by his father, but still he was treated as a son of a king, so he could have enjoyed there. But he left all his favorable circumstances because his mother told him that you can speak to Lord only when you do and perform these sacrifices, and guided by Narada Muni. So he left all his favorable circumstances and went to do this kind of penances. So um, I mean, we get so many things, favorable circumstances, but we have to make sure that we utilize them in the service of the Lord. Um, and For Parishit Maharaj, there is nothing like undesirable as such, but still he is not interested, and he accepted the curse very gracefully, and he understands that it's the will of the Lord, not as a karmic reaction, but as the will of the Lord. Um, Same like Pandavas accepted everything as a will of the Lord. They did not never felt like okay, this is because of karma, this is something happening, but it is as per the will of the Lord, it is happening with them. And in the next purport, it also mentioned about Vedas, that we have got Vedas and the Upanishads, we got Vedanta Sutras, we have got Itihasas, we have got Puranas. But even though they have been created in a different format to address different kinds of people, but the essence is same. Even Puranas, whatever stories we hear, whatever pastimes we hear, the essence is same. As said in Bhagavad-Gita that ultimately the essence is to know about Krishna. That is the essence of all Vedas. And Prabhupada nicely mentioned that it is not that how well you recite the things in following the proper meter, but it is how much you realize by reading these Vedic scriptures. That is what is important. And no one is less or great. So one might be chanting in a proper meter, but as I mentioned, the Parivrajaka Acharya, they don't focus on that, they focus more on preaching. So there is no service which is either less or great. Everybody has the same path and same goal for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful. Kiran Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, everybody. You know, I mean, there's again, like Pundaprakash Prabhu said, you know, there's so much information even in these 4 slokas. I think what sticks out for me is the depth of character that the kings had in those days. These weren't just ordinary kings. These were kings who were fearless, they were pious, they were wise, they had material opulence, they had spiritual opulence. So yes, he was an ideal king, but he had no attachment to the material world. They had everything you could possibly want, but he was prepared to accept the inevitability of death, which will come to all of us. And Parikshit fasted till death. He knew that most of us would not go through that. We would say, "Oh, let's find a plan C or a plan D." But he realized this was the will of the divine, and this inevitability of death is a realization that nothing whatsoever in life is permanent. We have good days, we have bad days, we have ups and downs, and hence the wheel of life will continue. The waves come, the waves go. Days come, nights come, bad times come, good times will always follow. Ups and downs are the nature of our existence. But to have permanent happiness and bliss, it's only going to be at the feet of the Lord. We can learn so much from just a few verses. And this is a realization. We are in the age of Kali. We've got leaders who are not wise, they're not statesmen, they are bigoted, they will have all sorts of flaws. And it illustrates what's happening in the world. You know, we're at the bottom of a cesspool, you know, and we have to keep ourselves clean and contaminated by all that goes on in this world. The kings of those days were a reflection of dharmic values and dharmic spiritual reflections. And it clearly says in 1.4113, chant with sincerity and with the depth of emotion. Cry for the Lord with depth and sincerity, such that you know that it's a child crying for his mother. And that's the kind of relationship we should be developing in our chanting. Parikshit Maharaj was an ideal king. We should learn to be an ideal person in this world so that we can learn to be able to escape with grace and divinity when the time comes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Yeah, so, again, we thank Srila Prabhupada for showing us the way, because most of us don't know. We didn't know. We don't know the way, even if we want to be good, we don't know what is good. What is actually good. This is what the sage was asking. What is the ultimate good for mankind? Even they weren't sure what is good. And we have Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and we have Srila Prabhupada's scriptures, translations that guide us. We need that guidance. We need the captain, on this ship. Otherwise, we don't know which way to go. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hina Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, so many nice points have been covered, so I don't have too much to add. I think the one thing that I will take away from today's class is there was a line in the verse about all the Vedic mantras are emanations of the Lord's breathing, which is quite a beautiful meditation. So I'll try and carry that with me during the course of today. So yeah, for me that means that this knowledge is complete. That all the Vedic knowledge that's out there is complete, and it's everything that we need to know essentially. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Praveen Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada Pranam. Yeah, very nice realizations by everyone. So, Parikshit Maharaj, he was a pious king. He was materially and spiritually wealthy, but he gave up everything and accepting the curse as a divine will, and he wanted to focus all his senses at the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is like in Bhagavad-Gita also, there's a shloka 3.21, Yad acharati shreshtas tat evtaro jana. So whatever a great man performs, common men follow. So that was for the welfare of the humanity as well, to see what is the right thing to do at the time of death. So he set an example by his act, and which teaches us that we should be detached from the material attachments and attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, to the spiritual life. And whatever we do, we have to do for the pleasure of the Lord. And he also mentioned about importance of just the knowledge is not enough, it's the realization. And chanting, how we do chanting with bhav is important. And whatever we do, cooking, whatever service we're doing, it has to be done with a bhav, not just for glorification or anything. So anything connected with the Lord, we have to have a bhav we're doing for the pleasure of the Lord, not for our own pleasure. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, you're absolutely right that how he just gave up everything, because to us, because we don't, we have our little world, and we have now we have guidance as well. So we might think, yeah, that was the right thing to do, and he was a devotee, he was easy, but it's still not easy. I mean, look, even Indra, when you're in that position, Indra gets bewildered, he gets into illusion. So when you are you're emperor of the world, and you're so engrossed in your duties, and every day you are living that life, it's really very difficult to sort of reset yourself, or whatever got to do, because like for a long time, when you find out you're about to die, you'll be like trying to process what happened, why did I do this, I shouldn't have done this, oh, now it's too late, what can I do? Like you're trying to, for a couple of days you'll be processing the information and how to move forward, but to reset yourself straight away, that's it, I'm giving up everything, I'm off. I've got 7 days now, really got to make the most of these 7 days for spirituality. To do that for a king at such a high position, who is like it got so much going for him, it must be some very, very difficult thing to do. To give it all up, because like I said, I need time to process this thing, but he processed it very quickly and he took action, and Krishna had made arrangement for everybody to come and help him as well. It's all arranged, it's all there for him. He just had to endeavor, and when he was there, everybody else turned up as well. Thank you.
Yeah, but Prabhuji, it was like for the common man that he was on the material platform, because he's already had darshan of the Lord in mother's womb while he was still in the womb. So he was like on a different platform.
Yeah, Absolutely. That's what I mean. For like, it's hard for us to actually imagine that somebody, who's the emperor and is living that standard of life just to give it up. It's hard for us to imagine. But yeah, his name was Parikshit. He was always examining people because he's looking for the Lord he had met in the womb. Like he was there, and plus he was related to the Lord, so he had some effect of that. And Arjun, he was related to the Pandavas, so that family qualities were within him, and he was saintly just like the Pandavas. Thank you, Mataji. Another one?
Hare Krishna, everyone. Pranams to all of you. Yes, all the characters in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, whichever pastime we look at, they're all empowered beings. They're not like us, we know that. They are for us to learn from. We are all parts and parcels of Krishna. We are very tiny speck, but they were, we can say, sort of, they were God, next to God. All of these great characters, what they have done in their pastimes, it's hard to process for us. but that was in that yuga, in that time, in that phase of the Srishti. So when we look at that, sometimes we start saying that, oh, we can't do anything. But Lord has said, okay, you can't do much. Your bodies are weak, your minds are weak. Here's the simplest process, chanting for you. So thank God, thank Shri Krishna that you have given us the easy way. Because if we just look at these characters, we just don't know. We scratch our heads. We don't know where to start from. How do I begin my bhakti? I have got none of that abilities, none of those capacities. But they are the very tall order. We just pray that we can do our chanting nicely. That is going to please Krishna, and that is our bhakti. And when we are chanting, we'll be following the 4 regulations as well. And when we are following the 4 regulations, our house becomes a temple. And this is what we are showing to our family, to our children, that this is how we live. And that's all Krishna wants from us, that we live nicely, and hopefully then when the time comes, we will go away nicely to Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Yeah, very important to follow the principles of religion, and we're all doing that, and we'll all be better for it. And purification is taking place. So the anartha nivritti is a long process, and we work on it. But as mentioned in the shlokas today, emotion is necessary. So we're following the regulations. You can do that mechanically. Chanting, we can do that mechanically, and this is what happens. That we might miss. We might miss the trick. That when we are doing something every day, we can start taking for granted. This is a danger. Whatever it is, something that we're doing every day, it just becomes just a habit, just to habit, and we forget the essence of why we're doing it and how we should really be doing it. And I'm speaking to myself, just a reminder after reading this, that must bring emotion. And you can only bring emotions if you are focusing, right? You got to focus on what you're doing, whether it's sadhana bhakti, you're doing your deity service, or you're cooking, especially chanting. Focus, and focus on the Lord and on your hearing, your chanting with emotion. That I really mean this. Please, I really mean this. That I'm chanting. And what does chanting means? You're saying, please give me your devotional service. But actually, we're not talking about devotional service here in this material world. Although we are saying, give me devotional service, and most time we think, okay, give me some service in the temple or like that. Yes, with that we need to do. That's our practice. But what we are just saying, Krishna, call me back home so I can serve you. That's the real essence of it. So if you say to Krishna, call me back home to my spiritual world where I belong, so I can serve you, engage me in your devotion service in the spiritual world, then we have to be serious. If I want to go back home all the way, then we have to show we see. We're not just saying, I like to come back one day. We're saying, please, I need to get out. Call me back, so you can engage me in your service. Please call me back, not just here. Call me back so I can serve you there as well. And that's what we're practicing for. So thank you all so much. You want to say?
Yeah. Can I just add something here? Because I always feel that my chanting is always fearful. When you say bring love for Krishna, love comes just for a few seconds. Mostly it is fear. And actually this is the fear we all have after hearing the Bhagavatam in our hearts, that we don't want to be stuck here in this material platform, because this is the biggest fear. Because now we have been shown the light, so we can't just bury our head in the sand that, oh, I don't know what I was supposed to do in our life. But so even if the fear is there, it's a good thing. At least we are getting up and doing the chanting, and Krishna is taking note of that.
Yeah, yes, Sakir Prabhu, you're absolutely right. This is what happens when we're doing something on a regular basis. We become complacent. It's like when you're going somewhere, first time you go there, you're looking at the route and trying to work everything out. And after that, just like, you're not even thinking which way you turn the left or right. You're not even thinking. You just do it, right? Automatically. But I guess with bhakti, you can't do things on automatic. You have to have, as you mentioned, emotion, focus, and you have to be present. You have to be present in the present. So thank you all so much. Just thinking, maybe Easter holidays coming up, take the Friday and the Monday off if you like. Do whatever you need to do with your families, and I'm sure you have programs to do. You have other arrangements. So maybe we'll come back next Wednesday off. That'll be okay. And so have a wonderful Easter, and we'll catch up next week. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.